and welcome again to Cottage Talk Full Time. I'm Russ Goldman. Joining me live outside of Craven Cottage is the Fulham shadow, Emilio Di Nello. He is actually looks like a shadow tonight, but again, listen, Emilio, I'm not going to waste any time. It's a 1-1 draw. We talked about this last night. I said to you before we went live that what Rob Wilson said to us, if it's a draw, it will matter how it became a draw.
Yeah.
So for me, coming from behind, putting on all that pressure in the end, I think it's a valuable point, Emilio. I think they earned the point.
Yeah.
And, we can look at it whatever way you want. They're still top of the league. And I'll take the point, Emilio. I want to get your initial thoughts of what you watched.
Yeah, not surprised. It was the intriguing game that we were talking about yesterday. But you know what? We almost got Parker balled tonight. But you said it there. We're top of the league still. So, Scott Parker, go back to your home in Bournemouth. And we'll see you maybe in a few seasons' time if you ever get promoted in the Premier League. But overall, you know what? I'll take the draw after going a goal down. We had to fight a very strong Bournemouth defender. We called out stats last night. They're the joint lowest conceders of goal in this division, and you see why. That first half,
they were tough, man. They were tough.
They defended us very, very well. Cahill was immense in their defense. The double save or double block from Cook.
By Steve Cook. Yeah, unbelievable.
All that game reminded me was just of what we had to witness for 2 seasons under Parker. Literally, it just felt the reverse of that. We had to deal with that for 2 seasons.
Right.
Watching us not creating many opportunities, trying to find those moments to score. You then get your noses in front like they did straight in the second half. And they hung on, they dug deep, they fouled, they wasted time. We were beneficiaries of that for 2 seasons.
Right.
And then it just felt like the Arsenal game away last season. We hung on, chance after chance, and we suddenly succumbed to Arsenal in the injury time. That's what it felt like, but on the receiving end tonight. They kept defending astutely, but it just needed a bit of quality, and it just did that moment. But overall, not the end of the world. We're still top of the league, as I mentioned. We're still 3 wins away from the next team below Bournemouth. So could have been worse.
It could have been a lot worse, Emilio. And listen, I have a feeling how this is going to be portrayed in the press. And it is going to be Scott Parker love fest. And listen, before I say anything, full credit, like you mentioned, to Bournemouth. That first half was a really well-played first half. Both teams, I thought, played very well.
Very open game.
Very open game. They had their chances. Fulham had their chances. It's 0-0 at the half, Emilio. But let's just talk about the first half, because you said something to me that, you know what? After you said that, I do agree with you. It was 0-0 at the half, and they had some really good opportunities. And honestly, they were pretty dangerous at times. And if I'm being completely honest, I know Fulham had the opportunity to score. But defensively, I'm just talking about the first half. I think Bournemouth were more solid than Fulham. Emilio.
Yeah, that's what we were saying off air. For me, if there was 5 equivalent chances for both teams, we were more liable
in the first half.
In that first half, I thought, the Solanke header early on should have scored. And then there was a shot just gone wide of the post. And those were good chances, but we gave them the opportunity for those chances. Whereas we had to battle and really fight for those chances. And they blocked very, very well. That was a difference. I just thought Cahill in particular was immense in that defence. He showed his experience, his international qualities there. And that's why they've conceded just as few goals as we are. So, we had to work harder to create chances, is probably my point. Compared to Bournemouth in the first half, we gave them more space. And their chances maybe slightly more clear-cut. But overall, I think we're slightly, better quality in that first half. But, we just, I thought 0-0 was broadly a fair result at half-time. It was an open game, though, more open than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it really was, Emilio. And I wasn't expecting it to be that open. But in the early stages of this match, it was going back and forth. They had their opportunities, like you talked about with Solanke. But Fulham had their opportunities as well with Neeskens, Cabano. And then, honestly, I want to talk about this. We're going to talk about a controversial situation in just a second. But to me, Emilio, what we're talking about in the first half, this epitomized what Fulham were dealing with, because they were creating opportunities. But Steve Cook, 2 blocks, double blocks.
Yeah, quality. Yeah.
Again, it was just difficult. They were making it difficult for Fulham. And
Yeah.
at the half, I'm thinking, let's just get to the half, regroup, and see what happens in the second half. But before we talk about the second half, I'm going to just share this with everyone. And again, I'm watching a broadcast, and the announcer said if this division had VAR, Fulham would have been awarded a penalty. This is what happened with Harry Wilson in the box. There were a couple of opportunities that you could talk about with penalties, but this one was legit. And Solanke did clip him slightly, but Emilio, I know you probably didn't get the greatest view of this, but when we're talking about the ref, and we're talking about me complaining about why I want VAR, it's situations like this, Emilio, because I truly believe Fulham would have been awarded a penalty here, but they weren't. What did you see?
Yeah, there's a lot of, all we kept saying is, look, was it a penalty or not? It was the wrong side of the pitch, and we were always saying we'd like to see the replay again. Obviously, I haven't seen the replay, but there was a lot of the fans nearer to the incident were definitely claiming a penalty. From a distance, it looked maybe a little bit soft. Did Wilson go down a little bit too easy? But clearly, if it was saying the replays are suggesting it was a penalty, it's moments like that turn the game for better or for worse. And I think, like you said, VAR will come into the Championship probably next season or the season after. So, but it's a shame that we didn't get the penalty. But I'm also looking at the incident when their player maybe should have got a red card early on the foul on one of our players. You look at those.
That's right.
I thought referee let them get away with murder in that first half. The amount of fouls that got no yellow cards. There was one.
Emilio, they had a strategy here. It worked. They had a strategy. They were going to try to beat us up. And honestly, that's kind of what they were doing. And listen, they played the match. And I'm glad that we're talking about the ref. I don't like to complain too much about the ref, but teams play the way that it's being called. If they're getting away with it, they're going to keep doing it. Yes, they're getting yellow cards, but there was a strategy here, Emilio.
Yeah. And, and we, like I said, we were the beneficiaries of that strategy for 2 seasons. We had to play we had limitations the last couple of years with the squad, especially in the Premier League last year. And Scott Parker did his best, with the players that he had. He played a particular system, and we had to witness that week in, week out. So we know what it's like to be on the receiving end of that. And he played to their strengths, and he tried to disrupt play, slow the game down. Exactly what we saw for 2 seasons. So was I surprised? No, I wasn't. But the fact that they got their noses in front in the second half, and that was well created, and
yes, it was
straight from the training ground.
Yes,
straight from the training ground.
And we're going to talk about that in a second. But before we do, I'm going to share some comments because we're going to talk. We're talking about the controversial decision here. Definite penalty from Colin Fraser. I'm just going to keep sharing these. Chris Pelletier says, no doubt we would have been awarded to penalties with VAR. Okay. Russ, you are so right. I'll take that. Colin Fraser also Smith red card. With VAR too.
And exactly.
And this is from Steve Turner. Every reffing decision went against us. The penalty, which was Stonewall, fouls, throw-ins, corners, 50-50s, literally every decision. You know what, Emilio? I don't like to go down this route. Steve actually might be right, though.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, especially in that first half. You look at how many fouls were yellow card fouls, and they got told was a little warning, and we got nothing off the back of it. Joe Bryan makes a foul in the second half, yellow card. Sarah, yellow card. It's just the inconsistency. That's what frustrates me with refereeing here. It's this division is just not good enough.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I don't know if Steve Lydiard's watching, but get your badges quickly. We need you to start refereeing in the Championship.
Okay, and I'm just going to share a couple more comments. Jake says, would have been a penalty in the Prem. And again, I'm just mentioning this because they were talking about it on the broadcast. All right, Emilio, let's switch to the second half. And like I mentioned, I was saying to myself, just get to halftime and then be ready for the second half to go. And like you mentioned, and again, let's give full credit to Scott Parker and Bournemouth. This is something that they obviously were ready to do, and they were ready to go from the beginning kickoff of the second half. And they score, I want to say, a very well-crafted goal.
Yeah.
So before I could even have the words come out of my mouth of being upset, they had scored. So you're there. How did you view this?
Yeah, just think something well crafted, straight from the training ground. Again, you haven't even got a chance to regroup as a team. They take from the kickoff, one pass, cross, bang, back of the net. So great finish from Solanke. Let's get.
Yes, it was.
That was, if one of our strikers scored from that, we'd be applauding them. But
yes,
Bournemouth came out second half with more intent. That first 10, 15 minutes, even after they scored the first goal, we were on the back foot for that first 10, 15 minutes. It was very unlike Parker. I would have thought he would have sat back. Okay, they're wasting time. They did that from the moment they scored that goal. But thereafter, for the 10, 15 minutes, we sort of offered very little. We couldn't get a stranglehold of the ball. Passes were going misplaced, and they were pressing us and pushing us back and back and back. And Seri was getting pressed deeper and deeper and deeper. And the only criticism I'll say is I would like to have seen Kearney come on maybe 10 minutes earlier, make some changes a little bit earlier. And overall, the subs made the difference, because obviously the Bournemouth players were tiring. But overall, if that was us who crafted that goal, we'd be applauding it. So, give Scott Parker credit. He got one on us for that goal.
He absolutely did, Emilio. But I'm glad that you talked about this, because, again, we'll talk about the goal coming up from Tosin, okay, which was fantastic. But the substitutions, I was thinking to myself, why not do it in the 60th minute? But he did it a little bit later. And also, I want to share this comment, because I actually agree with this. And I'm just looking for it, so just bear with me. But it was a comment talking about our fullbacks, because I don't think our fullbacks were that great. Adoy, I thought, was okay, but I don't think they offered us enough, Emilio. And again, there was a few good crosses from Joe Bryan, but for me, I wanted to see Kenny Tete in this match. Maybe I'm wrong.
Really? I don't know. Strangely, I thought Dennis had a bloody good game. I thought he defended extremely well. I thought, he was our best defender tonight. Joe Bryan.
He was.
I thought after he picked up the yellow card, he got called out a few times in the first half, Joe Bryan, playing far too narrow. And their fullback was getting a lot of space. I was a little bit concerned in that first half when Bryan was called out of position a few times. But he got a couple of good crosses. But I agree with you. Joe Bryan offered very little second half. Didn't push up enough. But Dennis was up for it. He was up for the challenge. He was defended. Stout. I thought he was one of our best players. I thought just didn't do much wrong tonight. Dennis,
no, I'm not saying that. No, listen, I'm totally with you. But against this opponent, I was thinking you need crosses in the box, Emilio. Yeah. That's where I'm going with on Kenny Tete. I understand your point, because full credit to Dennis Adoy. He actually defended very well.
Yeah.
But I thought that at times we needed those crosses from the right-hand side. That's just not Dennis's game.
And I think also Bournemouth's tactics as well. I think the way Park had them set up sort of restricted us pushing forward. I thought their tactics and their setup sort of restricted that full, crossing from our fullback. So I think a lot of the play was through the middle. I think Cabano, we haven't mentioned him tonight, but that first half was absolutely immense. I think he had two shots going in the bottom of the corner. Their keeper made some good saves, and I think their keeper kept them in the game as well. Made some strong, some solid saves throughout.
He did. I'm going to share this comment, and again, I don't know if I agree with this or not. I mean, Adoy fan, but would have Tete stopped that goal? Maybe. I don't know.
I don't think so. To be honest, I don't think as a criticism, we weren't really. We literally just got into the pitch ready for the start of the second half, and suddenly nobody expected that. I think any team would have struggled to stop that goal. And Solanke, that's the reason why he's the second top scorer in the division.
Right. Here's the comment from Colin Fraser that I wanted to share with you. Yeah. We had no attacking threat from our fullbacks. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going.
Yeah, that's true.
With this, with Emilio. That, nothing against Dennis, but he doesn't really offer that.
Yeah, and I'd probably on the flip side, I'd say credit to Bournemouth for setting themselves up so they restricted us pushing upwards. You look at the way they all set up the formation. There wasn't that opportunity. Joe Bryan was constantly in his own half. How many crosses did he have? I don't think it's a criticism of Fulham. I think Parker got one on us there in terms of setup and tactics.
Okay. So for you, it had more to do with how Bournemouth set up.
Yeah, that's for me. Yeah.
Okay. And fair. That's completely fair. That's why we do this show, my friend. Okay. Let's now talk about the equalizer. And what's interesting about this is, again, the broadcast I was watching was, as the match kept going, was glowingly talking about Bournemouth, glowingly, and how Fulham didn't have the answers, blah, blah, blah. It kept going and going and going. Well, that changed a great deal. The tone changed a great deal when Tosin scores. So Just describe the atmosphere at Craven Cottage when Tosin gets the equalizer, Emilio.
It was coming. We started.
It was coming.
Yeah, it was coming.
Absolutely
the
was
substitutes
coming.
made a difference.
Yes.
Bobby Reid added a lot more energy. I called it 10 minutes before that. Seri to come off for Kearney and Carvalho to come off for Bobby Reid. Carvalho was very quiet, to be honest. He had that sort of chance in the first half, but Cook, did immensely to save that and block the shot. But Carvalho wasn't really in the game tonight, so it was the right decision from Silva. Maybe he should have done it 10 minutes earlier, but overall, the right substitutions.
I agree with you.
We called it out, and it made a difference. And we were knocking on the door. It was coming, half chances. There was a Cabana shot. I think it was a loose ball. The Cabana shot wide when he probably should have done better. Wilson was getting a little bit more space on the right. His link-up play with Bobby Reid was good. It was quick. Added a bit more. Sorry, that's the beauty of the Fulham shadow doing it in the street. All these ambulances going by. So overall, we were knocking on the door and it was coming. And to be honest, it was a great cross into the box. And Tosin rose above everyone and knocked in the back of the net. And the atmosphere in the ground, you can imagine, suddenly it goes from expectations and hope. And we're all saying the only way we were maybe going to get a goal was something special from Tom Kearney, like he did against Leeds United a few seasons ago. Maybe he needed that level of quality. But it was a good cross, great header. And suddenly, first thing the Fulham fans tried, we're top of the league. We're top of the league. We are top of the league. That was immediately the atmosphere, and it suddenly changed the tone of the stadium. And you know what? I fancied us to go in and win that game.
I thought we were going to go on and win.
Another goal
at that point, Emilio, when he scored, I'm thinking they're going to get all 3 points out of this.
I was really that confident. I thought that 4 minutes of added time wasn't enough. I thought they probably needed a good 6 or 7 minutes. And man, the fact that the goalkeeper got a warning, for amount of time wasting, and the amount of other time, and to give only 4 minutes, I thought was quite light. It favoured Bournemouth, but at the end of the day, I'll take the point, especially after being goal down. But overall, I think we shaded it over the 90 minutes. We were the better team.
Absolutely,
we are the better team in this division. We are better than Bournemouth, but the fact that we're only 1 point ahead, maybe we should be slightly ahead of the game than we are. So you've got to give Scott Parker credit for maybe overachieving with his team. I know some of our friends and fans like Steve Reynolds hates us applauding Scott Parker, but you've got to give credit where it's due. So he's got the best out of this team, and they're still only 1 point behind us.
They are, Emilio, and I'll give credit to Scott Parker, but I'm sorry, the way the media treats him with kid gloves, as we would say,
I can imagine.
It's just crazy. They love Scott Parker, and I just basically say call it both ways. How about some love for Marco Silva, the job he's done? Just call both ways. That's all I would look at that. Okay, to finish up, I'm going to ask Emilio how valuable this point is, and we'll end with man of the match. Okay, Emilio, I hope you don't get arrested or anything like that.
I'm not getting arrested, by the way. I don't think I'm doing anything wrong here, but then I'm not curb crawling if that's what people think I'm doing.
Okay, so we're going to finish up with man of the match. Before we do this, I want to talk about how valuable this point is. Like I said, I'll go back to the conversation we had with Rob Wilson, Fulham legend, last night. We talked about this.
Yeah.
Rob said a draw would be a good result, mattering on how it happened, basically.
Yeah.
And I think the way it happened, the way that Fulham came back, because I wanted to see if they could come back. Yes, they did not win, but they came back. They came back against a quality opponent, and I believe this is an extremely valuable point that they can use. On the flip side, Emilio, and I don't know how my friends, I'm calling my friends because I've got to know a few Bournemouth supporters. How do you think they feel about this? Because now they dropped points against Coventry City. They got a draw against us coming off of the situation with Derby County. Are they feeling good about themselves? Are they feeling good about Parker ball? Because they got another dose of Parker ball in the end. It worked really well, but they were holding on like we have seen too many times. How do you think they feel after this match? I'm curious. How do you think Bournemouth, the supporters, how do you think they feel? Did you think that they feel, wow, we got a point? Or do you think that they might think of, wait a minute, this continues to happen?
Yeah, I think they'll take the point as well away from home. I think they'll obviously on balance of play. We had many more shots on goal than they did.
Yep, I'll go through the stats in a second.
So overall, I think I'll say that their fans were applauding Scott Parker throughout the game. Especially when they scored a goal. They were, I can't remember Fulham fans calling out Scott Parker, game after game and giving him all the chants and cheers and what have you. But the Bournemouth fans were applauding Scott Parker, and they had their own. I wasn't listening, but they had their own song that they were cheering when they went 1-0 up. So
right.
Sounds like there was a strong contingent of Bournemouth fans in the crowd today who were pleased to have Scott Parker on board. And many of us were saying, "Look, you can have him. He's yours. Take him away from us." So it's overall, I think from our perspective, I think I raised a point last night about the psychological impact of losing, and I think psychologically, I think it's done no damage. I think the fact that we've recovered from a goal down against the team that's closest to us in the league.
That's what I wanted to talk about. The psychological part of this.
I think both teams. I think it will not affect either team. I think they'll both take the point given the circumstances. We shaded it. I think we clearly are the better team. So whether we can sustain that for the remainder of the season remains to be seen. But overall, I don't think it's done any damage to either team. I think they'll both take one game closer to the Premier League, 1 point on the board. And psychologically, I think it would have been more damaging if we'd lost that game with all those chances created and not being able to convert. That would have been potentially damaging. But the fact that we've recovered, I think we'll go into the next game against Luton Town with confidence.
And they should, Emilio. It's interesting because I was thinking about it. I thought to myself, if they could get away just even to get a draw out of this is going to psychologically going to benefit Fulham. It's going to benefit. I think it. You think it's neutral where it might not hurt them, might not help them. I actually think it might help them. I do. I actually think this might help them. I'm going to share some comments, Emilio. Before I get your man of the match, I'm going to share some comments from everyone here. This is from Colin Fraser. I'm sharing a lot of comments from Colin. We are the better side. They were scared of us. Parker set his team up to kick us. Well, I'm not going to disagree with that because I think we saw that. Okay, so here's some comments for man of the match. You're going to see a lot of this, man. Cabano. Cabano.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what else we got. Am I right in saying that Bournemouth was missing players as well?
Yeah, they had a couple of players missing as well,
Yep, no, they were. See, Cabano. It just keeps going.
But they nullified that threat. So Parker saw that problem in the first half and nullified. Cabano clearly not as effective second half. In that first half, he was outstanding. And
he was outstanding.
But second half they closed him down, so he had less space, less opportunity, and maybe wasn't as effective. Overall, he's my man of the match. Just purely, that's where most of our threat was coming from, to be honest.
Okay, and our friend Anthea, all the way in New Zealand. How you doing, Anthea? Man of the match, Cabano, for shots on target and some fabulous touches skill.
Yeah,
you are right. It's funny. I wonder what Scott Parker was thinking watching Neeskens Cabano because he had to game plan against him, like you said. He had to adjust in the second half.
Yeah, exactly. And some of the other call-outs for me, I think I've mentioned Dennis Odoi. I thought Dennis had a good defensively, but had a good game. He looked good. He looked hungry. Did very little wrong.
It's all Cabano. It's all Cabano.
Harrison Reed, I'm not his biggest fan, as you know, but I thought he had a good game as well. I thought he looked livelier today. He played better than he did against Derby County. So a call out to Harrison Reed for looking lively, energetic, and sort of the type of play that we're used to seeing.
Yep. This is from our friend Dave Cronin. No real man of the match for me. All played pretty well. Yeah, I would tend to agree with that, Dave. And this is a great comment, Colm. I agree with this. At least we scored after being behind.
Yeah.
Totally agree. I wanted to see the response. I'm thinking to myself, they got kicked in the teeth. Can they respond? Emilio, exactly. I thought they responded, okay?
Yeah,
I thought they responded. And that to me, when we go back to your comment about the psychological ramifications, I think that's why I feel this is a positive more than anything else, because they took that kick in the teeth and they came out the other side. They only got a point, but they didn't lose. I thought it was important to come out of this match with a point. Okay, great stuff, Emilio. Look at all the comments. We got so many comments.
Comments tonight.
So many comments. And listen, I want to say this one more time, and I actually had a great time talking to Sam Davis from Back of the Net. His team does a great job, and I have nothing against the Bournemouth supporters. I think they're just supporting their team just like we're supporting Fulham, and I wish them the best the rest of the season, and I think there's a good chance it's going to be the two of us back in the Premier League. But you know what, Emilio, I'm not going to be too despondent over a 1-1 draw because I saw something out of Fulham that I wanted to see. I wanted to see a fight back. Emilio, we saw that.
Yeah, we saw that. Is there any alarm? There's no alarm bells ringing for me. Still too early for that. But 3 games, 3 draws, 2 goals. The goals have dried up a little bit. You could argue the virus affected the Derby game and to some extent the Preston game. But not to worry yet. The players are coming back from injury. We're back. The players are recovering from the virus. We've not played necessarily well for 3 games, but we've not lost either of them. So that's a positive. But just the goals have slightly dried up. So we just need to regroup. We've got a week to regroup for the Luton game. We'll come back stronger. Hopefully, pick up 3 points, and then we get back to winning ways. But we're still unbeaten in 10 games. So it's a proud record, right? So I'm not complaining. As I said, it was more important not to lose and the man of the performance. Both of them we didn't lose. And we played reasonably well against a very rock-solid defence. So
that's right.
Overall,
that's right.
There are some positives there tonight.
I totally agree, Emilio. One last thing that I want to ask you about, because again, on the broadcast I watched, when Parker's team, Bournemouth, were ahead and it was getting later and later in the match, and this is when you and I were talking about in the 60th minute, I thought they should have made this double substitution, which they made about 10 minutes later. They kept asking the question, does Marco Silva have a plan B? I think he showed he has a plan B.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I've seen a plan B from him more than a few times. I can't say that about Scott Parker. So I'm not trying to make a dig at it. I'm trying to say when I'm listening to these comments, I'm thinking he's already shown to me that he can come up with something else. He did.
And Scott Parker's still the media darling, right? So he can't do no wrong.
Whatever.
Right? Whatever he does, he can't do no wrong. So
nope, he can do no wrong.
But at the end of the day,
he dresses so nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I saw a few pats on the back there with some of the players as well. So I was focusing at the end of the game. Him and Mitrovic had a brief, hug.
Yeah.
Tim Ream had a brief hug. He hugged Joe Bryan a lot more than he did some of the other players. So again, you can see there wasn't that. When some former managers come back as an opposing manager to your team. Or a former player comes in, there's a lot more hugs, there's a lot more chat.
Right.
I only noted Scott Parker and Tom Cairney having the longest chat after the game. The rest was just a brief hug here and a brief hug there. Yeah. So maybe there's no love lost between the players and Scott Parker, to be honest. I think that's history now. We've moved on and we've got better things to look forward to.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I'm just going to share this comment from Chris Goodwins. Scotty P only ever had one plan. That was his downfall. And you know what? Chris, you're right.
I don't wish the man bad.
Neither do I.
I think the fans a little bit. But at the end of the day, we didn't enjoy watching the football he played. He's got a particular style. Let Bournemouth appreciate him maybe more than we did. So at the end of the day, we have to move on. But let's not forget, he did get us promoted.
Okay, now you were there, so I didn't know.
Yes, I've got a picture. I've got to see if I've got the picture. I took some photographs. I think I've got a picture where I think I caught them hugging, but very brief. It was a brief moment. Him, Tim Ream. Brief hugs. It was Tom Cairney had the biggest chat, a few moments of chat with Parker and Tom, and then with Joe Bryan. But I saw the other players. It was very, very brief.
Yeah.
There was no booze in the ground. So So it's the fans did the right thing. We just need to move on, right?
We need to move on. I agree with you, and we need to actually end the show because the Fulham shadow needs to get home.
And the other thing as well, just to point on talking about Mitrovic.
Yep.
Again. Credit to the defence. Their defence. He was snuffed out mostly. He had one header. I think it was a Seri cross when and then Mitrovic just headed over in the second half. But other than that, Mitrovic didn't have much to do. He wasn't given. Give Gary Cahill the credit he deserves.
Yeah.
So I think he gave Mitrovic very few opportunities and snuffed him out most of the game.
Okay, I'm going to just share this one comment because we're talking about Mitro. Russ Emilio, would you guys play Muniz with Mitro for Luton for a more scoring threat to not rely on Mitro so much?
No, not yet. No, I think I'd keep to our tried and tested system. That's created. We've scored enough goals from our current approach for this season, so I wouldn't change that. I'm not sure I'd play Muniz yet with Mitrovic.
Okay,
we've got enough quality in some of the other players, offensive players. So no, I wouldn't.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, listen, everyone watching live and commenting, thank you for commenting and being a part of this. And Emilio, win, lose, or draw, me and you after the match, we're here. We're here.
Yeah.
We're here. Not like some other podcasts that I've listened to that might not show up for a couple of weeks, but you and I are here.
Look, we're here. Look, it's actually not that cold tonight. So look, everyone's gone home. I've got my car tonight, so it's That's the
Okay.
beauty of it. Look, a few moments outside of Craven Cottage, commenting straight after the game. I haven't got the luxury of watching replays, so I can only comment on what I saw live on the pitch. So good atmosphere in the ground, a sellout,
Good.
and it felt like a Premier League game. Weirdly,
Okay.
Just felt like a bottom 6 Premier League game. Lot to play for. It had that type of atmosphere, so it was good. Good to be there.
Nothing wrong with that, my friend.
Good to be
before
there.
we go, I have to share this with someone that you know.
Who's that?
That would be Callie, Fulham Shadow.
Yeah, Fulham Shadow will be home soon.
Okay. I had to share that. Sorry. All right. Well, listen, that's going to do it for this episode of Cottage Talk. Emilio, thank you so much for doing this.
No, you're welcome. Enjoyed it. And as we say, we're still top of the league, guys. Top of the league.
Still top of the league.
Come on, Fulham.
All right. Excellent. Well, again, like I mentioned, we're going to wrap this up. For Emilio Di Nello, the Fulham Shadow, I'm Russ Coleman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk.